Well, thank you for joining us. Thank you for joining us for the Vertical Communications Consultant Collaboration Program webinar. And really excited today to have folks from 8x8 with us. Jamal's just an amazing technical resource and excited that you're here, Jamal. We have a great relationship with 8x8 and we love the product. And then from the vertical perspective, we bring the service side. So just really excited to have you here. We're recording, so anybody can listen to this later. And Jamal, take it away. Thanks for being here.
All right. Well, thank you very much. And I'm going to just arrange a few things here and then I can share my screen. So good morning, everyone. I'm Jamal Savoy, and I'm the Director of Sales Engineering for 8x8 that's focused on our partner community. And I'm very glad to be here today with Vertical and your consultant group. And really just want to walk through a couple of slides about 8x8. Definitely want to take some questions, focus a little bit on the technical side of the architecture. And then, we can get into some live demonstration elements as well. So just bear with me here while I get the right thing on the screen, and then I will hit the share button. There we go. All right. Okay, great. And I think you can see the screen. You might be able to see me in the corner at the same time.
You're correct.
All right. So as you may have already know about a little bit about 8x8, we're definitely in the forefront of this communications transformation that's going on worldwide. There's a huge legacy communications market that's migrating to the cloud. And 8x8's unique position in the marketplace is that we own the complete tech stack that's been built over 20 plus years, over 200 patents. And we really focus on some really key areas that are part of the backbone of today's work from anywhere economy. So we are an 8-time Gartner Magic Quadrant leader for unified communications as a service, and a five-time Gartner Magic Quadrant recognized in contact center. So that's just a little bit of background there. And let's see, here we advance these slides. So the benefit of this full integrated tech stack and all owned by us is that we can cover the needs of unified communications, contact center, and meeting solution on a single platform with the real-time data analytics, security and compliance, and a strong API and integration framework that allows the communication side of the house to touch all other parts of the business, whether that be in their ERP and CRM systems, or their other workflows and workplaces that they're part of, to make sure that communications are easily accessible by all their employees and present a really good customer story when they're looking to communicate externally as well. And the alternative to that, over the years, there have been several different players that have point solutions. Some organizations take a best of breed approach, but it ends up with a sort of a mishmash of different providers and services trying to produce different functions and features within the organization that now you can look at 8x8 as covering all those different areas. So in terms of how this platform gets rolled out in organizations, it's designed to be that single platform for all the roles within an organization. And you can see the graphic here depicting, sort of a sales environment, an IT department, a marketing environment, a mobile workforce, and having all those different individuals using the parts of the 8x8 solution that are most beneficial to them while only paying for the capabilities you need. So as you look at the licensing structure or the rollout structure of the packages, there's this mix and match capability that allow you to move at the speed of the employee and customer expectations without increasing the spend and paying for features that individual users may not need. So again, when we talk about that one cloud communications platform, it really does focus heavily on some really key components of a communications system for a company. And as you look at today's environment, messaging is even more important, especially if you look at the way that users have to collaborate, work in teams that may not be in the same building, or right now when we're under this current, COVID situation where people really can't congregate together. But even as companies look at their reentry plans and reorganizing, many of those teams may continue to be dispersed or distributed across multiple locations. So the messaging component within the 8x8 solution provides one-to-one messaging, provides SMS messaging, also provides a group messaging function. So you can build teams. Those teams could be public discussion rooms, or they could be private rooms based on a particular topic or a particular project that's going on. And we also provide connectivity from the 8x8 platform into platforms like Slack or Salesforce, so you can have that group messaging communication across multiple platforms. So any questions about that before I move on? I know we only have Kirk with us today, but just wanted to check and see if there are any questions about that.
No, I think this gives a pretty good overview of your approach. As opposed to the best of breed trying to cobble together a variety of solutions. You've built your own, which has the upsides and downsides to it. But it's very clear how you approached it.
Yeah. And one of the things that we've run across as we've spoken to different consulting groups, different end users, CIOs, VPs of IT, and those sorts of folks, is this messaging component makes such a big difference when you're trying to have that collaboration and you need to reach someone when they're on the phone, or have it also work across their mobile device, and just eliminate those different silos and barriers to communication within an organization when you look at that messaging component. So as I kind of work my way around the wheel here, voice and video conferencing has become ubiquitous. I almost get tired of looking at my own face with the number of virtual meetings that I have to attend on a weekly basis, almost a daily basis now. But it is a key factor in organizations continuing to be productive as employees are more distributed and involved in different types of projects within the organization. So that ability to look someone in the eye, share the screen content, but also take advantage of features like remote control if you need that aspect of things, and also funneling all the data about your meetings into a meeting analytics package that's just part of the overall 8x8 intelligence is a really great feature for those departments that are trying to manage employee engagement, trying to manage meeting quality. We have lots of different details that go into those analytics that are available for people to use. And again, being part of the same platform, you don't have to pivot to another application or find the app or download it or have someone have to download the app. It's a really ubiquitous environment where you can access it with a browser. You don't necessarily have to download it. And it just makes it very easy for people to join and collaborate in real time. So again, moving around the wheel there to the contact center space. We have a strong contact center solution that covers multiple channels, whether that be voice, web chat, SMS, email, all those different places where you need to connect with customers outside the business or even internal customers. If you look at internal help desks or HR solution desks or things like that, so that employees can contact folks that they need to get in touch with. But it provides some advanced routing capabilities. Again, another place where you're going to see really strong analytics. We can connect to workforce engagement management solutions like workforce optimization, scheduling, et cetera. And because it's part of the same platform, it makes it very easy for contact center agents to collaborate with people that aren't necessarily part of the contact center function in the business. So that's where we see a lot of benefits there. Again, distributed workforces, agents working from home or working from other places, but being connected to the rest of the business, able to increase first call resolution rates, net promoter scores, customer satisfaction rates, because agents are empowered to reach out and get answers to customer questions. And then last but not least, the kind of core telephony piece, having a native cloud PBX as the underpinnings of that platform, and allowing customers to choose or users to choose their best endpoint. Some people prefer the hard phone, some people prefer the native soft phone, some people prefer the mobile client, but it's all part of the same solution set and provides that security and reliability and voice quality that end users need to be functional from anywhere. They also, PBX is sort of a standard expected, utilitarian sort of a function right now, but being able to deliver this type of functionality from the cloud is opening up a lot of doors, especially as you look at state and local government, education, and those sorts of entities getting increased funding now to improve their telephony environments, go to the cloud, and get the reliability and flexibility of a cloud solution. So not always the shiniest object in the portfolio, but the cloud-based nature of 8x8 telephony really opens a lot of doors as you look at new customers to go after.
Now, how does your cloud, quote, PBX compare to more traditional premise-based solutions in terms of feature set? One of the things that I find is relatively common is that features that people are used to, 25 years, 30 years of functionality, is rarely there in a lot of cloud solutions. So how do you compare? Because I've had numerous clients bought into the cloud solution, and were extremely disappointed that something that they, and perhaps they didn't reveal it, but they assumed it was there and it's not. So how do you compare with the more traditional PBX feature set?
That's a really good question. And one of the things that we've invested in over the many years is matching that functionality of what you would consider an enterprise phone system to our cloud phone system. And it goes all the way down to simple expected functionality like park positions. You know, we can offer a function where you can park a call and it announces the parking lot space, but we can also park a call and it just appears on a button on the phone. Auto attendant selections, ring groups, call queues, even things like paging groups and connectivity to overhead paging, integration with analog devices. So there's a whole host of those traditional PBX features that we've engineered over the years into the 8x8 Cloud PBX. And we found more often than not that we have either the exact feature or a very similar feature to what a customer is used to. So the goal being to minimize the user transition time and make sure that they feel comfortable using the new system and they're not giving up some of the functions that they're used to.
Right, that was a big concern, is it's not so much, they might have to adapt to a different way of doing it, but can they still do it, as opposed to, some situations, they require a lot of changes in their business processes. As you all know, that, means that this is a failure, in their mind. They have to change how they do things. It doesn't matter what you did, it's a fail. And, so obviously I'm trying to, identify where it fits. It sounds like you guys have done a pretty good job of trying to make sure that you mimic most of the things that people are used to.
Yeah, and we've even improved over the years the administration interface for that. So it's gone from something that was a little bit more cumbersome to use to something that's much easier to use. It's something that you can access from a web browser. I've even seen people configure their systems from a tablet and things like that. So it makes it very simple and easy to use, but you still have the power of those advanced functions and those expected functions from an enterprise telephony perspective, all the way down to, again, things like the paging groups and the ring groups and all those different neat functions, even fax. I'm surprised every time I get questions about fax, but it is a part of the platform, and you can send and receive faxes from the desktop client. Where I've seen a little bit of shift in opinion is toward using the mobile and the desktop software. We used to get a lot more questions about phone features and lights and buttons on the phone and things like that, but we've seen a larger adoption of the soft phone and comfort with leveraging the desktop software as opposed to the hard phone, especially with the pivot to working from home and working from anywhere. So it's an interesting conversation. A lot of people that would have been more stringent about function for function matching are now just more concerned about things like the call quality, the security, and the reporting that's available in the cloud solution.
Okay, that's good to hear. Thanks.
Right. So, as we mentioned, it is about that work from anywhere platform. And again, all those people that used to be in their business function, but in a certain part of the building or area of the office, now have to do those same functions from wherever they happen to be. And the cloud provides that kind of flexibility for them. And when we talk about the cloud, 8x8's cloud spans global data centers. We leverage our own data centers in addition to some public cloud locations. And the reason why we do that is the infrastructure is really important to us for all of the real-time activities, things like voice, things like video, the contact center functionality to make sure that the call quality is great for each and every agent, no matter where they're calling in from or where the call is being delivered to. But we also have leveraged public cloud in both Amazon and Oracle to deliver those parts of the cloud that can be scalable and they're not handling real-time voice and video. So things like our analytics packages, our configuration tools, all of our single sign-on activities and network security redundancy, we can now spread that across our own data center locations as well as public cloud. So it just gives you another layer of redundancy, quality control, and availability because our cloud continues to expand. We also have patented this global reach technology that allows users, as they move between different locations, or if they have an office that spans multiple countries, each one of those users is going to connect back to their nearest point of presence. And it's patented, it's built into our architecture. So when I worked for 8x8 in the Australia, New Zealand theater, I could use my same phone number, my desk phone, my mobile application would all be able to connect to a local data center for media relay and session border controller services without having to haul my traffic all the way back to the US. So it really increases the reliability, the call quality of the solution, and we can provide all those call quality metrics so that IT administrators, anyone that's interested in the organization, can see those details at a call-by-call level.
That's great. No, that obviously is a very well thought out architecture. I deal with a lot of international clients, and one of the challenges, and I'm curious how 8x8 addresses this, is essentially local service in those countries. You know, in a lot of countries, and I know you can't list everything here, but you know, in Europe, you know, they need DIDs in Austria and Sweden and Germany and you know, Romania, and you know, does 8x8 have that type of a footprint to be able to essentially be a replacement for their premise environment?
Yeah, we do. In several of those countries, we have what we call full PSTN services. So there are around 40 countries that we have what's called full PSTN, and then in another 120 countries where we can provide things like DIDs, toll-free numbers. There are different portability rules in every country. For instance, in Germany, you have to have a local address in order for them to provide you a DID. But for all those different countries, we have the expertise on what we can and cannot provide and how we can integrate with local connectivity for those services. In many places, we can put in what's called a local PSTN gateway, and that will give those users access to emergency services. It could potentially handle inbound calls on a local line that they may have, but also just the ability to be compliant in each one of those jurisdictions. We have the expertise to navigate that for the customer.
Excellent, because you're right. Some of your competitors do not have that expertise.
Yeah. You know, even you know, hard to reach places like India and China. We have rolled out services in China. We have rolled out services in India. So we have the on the ground, you know, feet on the ground expertise of working through the challenges, delivering those solutions, and then giving that company that real global footprint so that they can connect their users to each other while also maintaining that local connectivity.
Exactly. Okay, thanks.
So as we talk about compliance, one of the things that's really a high point for 8x8 is the ability to have security and privacy solutions across industries. And as you look at different areas or jurisdictions, you know, municipalities, countries, et cetera, there are different layers of security and privacy compliance that's required. There's some may be industry compliant, like HIPAA, but some things are just universal, like PCI. You know, if you have to handle any sort of credit card information as part of your day-to-day communications work that you do as a company, we have different PCI solutions, whether that be in the contact center with something we call Secure Pay, or just general PCI compliance across our infrastructure and our platform. So we've invested heavily in making sure that we're compliant with these different solutions. And most of these have some level of third-party verification, things like GDPR. One thing that's not on this slide right now is CCPA, the California privacy regulation. So we're compliant with all of those, and we maintain those compliances. And we can even sign what's called a business associate agreement for HIPAA compliance for our customers as well. So again, strong focus for 8x8 globally to maintain that security and compliance, you know, top certification.
Okay.
So getting a little bit further down in the stack and talking through some of the solutions, we talked about the cloud PBX on that other slide, but that's what we call an 8x8 virtual office, which is really your digital workspace. So you'll see here the there's obviously the desk phone option, and when you talk to those customers that are really concerned about that user experience, again, we can program these lights and buttons. The most configurable phone is going to be a Polycom phone. We also can deliver our services over Cisco phones and Yealink phones, which is kind of a low-cost option. But when you talk about mapping a user experience from what they had before to what they can get with 8x8, a Polycom is going to be your most flexible option. This is a fairly low-end model that shows 2 buttons, but we do have some models that have up to 12 buttons on the phone. So if and sidecars and expansion models and things like that. So if you talk to a customer that has that need and they want to, they have someone in a receptionist role or someone that is used to seeing the presence on those keys on the phone, we can program it that way. But I'll tell you that most of our customers are really pivoting toward the soft clients because of the access to things like the video conferencing or the screen sharing or the messaging across desktop and mobile. So just a quick overview of that from an end user perspective.
No, that makes a lot of sense. And I see the same thing, that people are becoming more comfortable with soft clients. How they use them is still up in the air. But whereas, 6 months ago, there was certainly a large segment of most organizations that say, I need to have a plastic phone on my desk. And now that they've been sent home and forced to work on soft phones, they sort of say, the soft phone's not so bad,
Yep.
And, like always, it doesn't do everything. All soft phones have certain, limitations, but we're starting to see a shift in attitude. So I think that's going to impact long-term how people approach a hard phone versus a soft phone versus the combination of the two.
Yeah, and that I'm glad you mentioned that combination, because one of the unique things about the way we deliver this software is you can have that soft phone on the desktop, but you don't necessarily have to use it as your audio endpoint. You can set a configuration where you may search the directory on your computer, but when you click to dial that individual, it actually sends the call through your desk phone. So it does make a good marriage of the two environments where, if you're used to, if you don't have I'm stuck on my my AirPods today because my other headset is battery's dead. But if you're comfortable with that handset in your hand or the speakerphone on your desktop, you can still use that and leverage the software at the same time. So we've really done a good job of putting those two things together. The other thing I'll say about the software is, I know maybe 3 people that I work with at 8x8, I know their actual phone extension. Everyone else,
right.
I look up in the directory, I find their name, it has their picture there. I know I'm talking to the right John Smith. I click call, and we're talking. I don't have to try to, scroll through the directory and find their extension number or any of those other type of things. I'm just so used now to, it's almost kind of that consumer cell phone experience where you scroll through the directory, you find who you're looking for, you hit call. Or even, there's been times when we start off with a text conversation, and then we go right from that to a meeting and invite other folks in. And now we're having a conversation and sharing screens and everything like that. So it really has changed the mode of operation where, it's very rare, unless I'm calling somebody externally or I'm looking at a phone number on a web page, that I actually dial digits. I'm mostly just clicking on faces.
Right. Now, I mean, obviously this works, probably very well in a closed environment, where you control all the pieces, everyone's using, your clients and tools. However, the vast majority of organizations use lots of other tools. They're already using, Office 365, and therefore email and, contacts are in Outlook. They may be using, Teams for messaging, or they might be using Zoom for messaging, or whatever they might be doing. How do you integrate with the others? Because expecting a wholesale change is a definitely formula for failure if you have to do it. So how do you work with those things?
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought that up. So specifically for Office 365 users, we have an integration with Outlook that makes it very easy to click to dial from Outlook. It can recognize your Outlook contacts. It can also allow you to import those contacts into your 8x8 directory. So from an end user level, if you have your 50 vendors that you call on, or your key customer list or something like that, you can make that part of your 8x8 directory so it's easy to see those contacts and place calls to them from your 8x8 environment. But you can also, if your primary mode of operation, like you said, is in your email and leveraging your Outlook calendar and your Outlook contact lists, there are integrations there to make the two products connected as well. It's funny that you mentioned Microsoft Teams, because we do have a number of customers that are either love Teams or they've been dragged kicking and screaming into Teams. And that's actually, I'll skip ahead to that slide and we can come back to some other things. But we've introduced recently 8x8 Voice for MS Teams. This slide is going to say preview on it, but it's actually been announced, and it's going to be available on June 30th of 30th of this month. And it provides a direct routing voice solution for Teams that allows the user experience to be exactly what the users are used to. So they don't have to add a plugin. They don't have to connect any additional software. They don't have to learn a new way of dialing. It basically turns their Teams into an 8x8 connected device so that they can dial, make and receive calls to and from the PSTN without any additional software on the desktop. So very exciting announcement from us, and we have lots of interest in this feature set. And it also allows them to take advantage of other things that 8x8 provides, like contact center, integrations with CRM systems, and connectivity to the rest of the global 8x8 network. So really great announcement from us, and lots of interest in that right now.
Now, is it using 8x8 PSTN or calling infrastructure, or is it using the Microsoft infrastructure and just enabling it?
So it actually uses both. So the Microsoft infrastructure handles the kind of Teams to Teams calling, but anytime a user makes or receives a call from the PSTN, it goes through the 8x8 side of that equation. So it really is connecting the best of both worlds. And the big benefit to the end user is their user interface doesn't change, their way of working doesn't change. They still have all of their favorite connectivity to OneNote and SharePoint and all those things. But anytime they make and receive a call, it's going through 8x8.
Okay, so basically they don't have to purchase the Microsoft calling packages, international calling packages, and things that essentially make Teams telephony non-competitive.
That's right. That's right. They don't need the Microsoft calling plan, and we sell them the 8x8 service package that can give them some really good benefits in terms of flat rate calling to anywhere between 14 and 47 countries, and just becomes a nice seamless integration at the end user level, and all the benefits of having that global network and that global redundancy in the 8x8 cloud.
Okay, that sounds good.
So that's where we are with Teams. Again, very, very excited about that announcement, and really great ease of administration from a technical level. It just really it's almost one of those things that's so simple. When people ask about, hey, can I see the demo? The demo's fairly short because it is very simple, and it doesn't require a lot of scripting or PowerShell access and all those various things that people end up doing when they try to manage their Teams environment. We've made that all very, very simple.
Okay, and Teams, although they are certainly the dominant force right now, the other two big players are Zoom and WebEx, and they all have telephony options as well. How do you integrate to those?
Yeah, it's interesting that you mentioned that. I know Zoom has a Zoom phone, and it is a interesting product, but it's also in its infancy, and it doesn't have those features that you were talking about earlier in terms of the real PBX features. So
Right.
I've seen interest in the Zoom Phone product from a price point perspective and from a smaller customer perspective, but I haven't seen that product hold up to enterprise requirements at this time. So I know they'll continue to develop it. It'll continue to be something that's interesting to talk about. But where we see big differentiators is, one is our global infrastructure, our reliability, and our security and our compliance certifications, and just those real enterprise features that users expect.
Right.
Now we
And
do have.
but
Mhm.
if a customer was standardized on Zoom for their collaboration and conferencing, could they use 8x8 as their audio component of those things? In other words, can you integrate like you do with Teams in a Zoom environment?
Not in the same way, but we do have users that have a Zoom client on their desktop for their video collaboration, and they have an 8x8 client on their desktop for voice and contact center and things like that. And what we can do in those situations is turn off the 8x8 video collaboration at a user level, so that users aren't confused about which application to use. So we've done some deployments like that. Even if you look at things like Slack, where organizations have standardized on Slack for their team messaging, we can turn off or disable 8x8 team messaging for certain users, again, so the user experience is less confusing on the desktop. So
so what you're saying is that most of your features are configurable on a per user basis. They're not a global setting that you forces the company to be all or nothing.
That's right. Yeah, and we have group profiles. So if you have a particular role in the organization, maybe your development team that handles software development is going to spend all the time on Slack, and they really only rarely use the phone. You can give them a cut down version of the client and set a group policy just for those users, so that they only see the telephony pieces of their desktop software. And then for someone in a different part of the organization, they may be leveraging the contact center and the video meetings and the team messaging and all those different functions, so you can make their client expanded to support all those other avenues.
Okay, that sounds good.
So moving on, we're using 8x8 video meetings now, as we all know. One of the really great things about what we've done here is we've recently released an end-to-end encryption functionality. So if you're familiar with some of the things that have been in the news about, bombing into certain meetings, or weird things that happen, or different security issues or privacy issues, we don't have any of those. And we've also upgraded to where we can do true end-to-end encryption. So now that two parties can share an encryption key, or multiple parties can share an encryption key, and anyone that joins the meeting that doesn't have that encryption key will just see gibberish in the meeting. So even if they were able to somehow guess the meeting information to log in, if they didn't have the encryption key, they would never see the content of the meeting. They would never hear the content of the meeting. So we've introduced some really strong encryption into the product most recently. It's also designed to be browser-based. So if you have participants joining your meeting that haven't downloaded the software, they can easily connect from a web browser and have the same experience, still be able to share their screen, still be able to hear the audio, leverage the chat functions, and even take advantage of things like streaming the entire conference to a YouTube environment where you can have unlimited users. So we're really excited about this product as well. Again, there are organizations that have a larger market share than we do, but our market share has increased significantly just with the recent issues with people not being able to work from their offices, and being the need to connect with family and friends, and outside of the business context. So we've seen our meetings platform go from around 200,000 users to over 20 million just in a few months.
Right.
Moving on to contact center. So this is an exciting part of the process because of the ability to have those contact center users connected to the rest of the business, but also because we bring things to the table like automation, artificial intelligence, CRM integration, and the speech analytics product that I know I have another slide on later, but it really brings a full circle solution to a contact center that's trying to reach out to customers, stay connected with consumers across multiple channels. So whether it's inbound phone, outbound phone, email, web chat, social, SMS, all those different types of connectivity or channels can be routed into a common pool of agents. They may be trained or skilled in different areas, but from an administrative side of things, that contact center now has the ability to take all those different communication modes and route them to the right agent, and with the right KPIs, the right dashboards, things like post-call surveys, workforce engagement management. So just a complete set of contact center solutions that are available.
Okay, and is it configurable from what the agents can see? Well, I find a number of, especially more traditional cloud-based, not the traditional, but the more, a lot of the cloud-based, contact centers is that they sort of, this is what we do, as opposed to the ability to really tweak what an agent sees. Some agents may want to see different things than others. Other things, and one I encountered recently was that supervisors record all calls and actually record all do screen captures too, but the only supervisors can listen to them. Mm-hmm. And therefore, if an agent said, I took a call last hour and I must have written the phone number down wrong. Can I listen back to it? Previously in a premise environment, they were able to, that agent could listen to their recordings. Mm-hmm. Now, under their new cloud environment, the supervisor has to download it and forward it off to that agent because they don't want to give them the ability to listen to everything. So in other words, how granular can they configure things to allow the functionality that they're used to?
Yeah, we have very granular controls, so it's let me see what's on this next slide. Yes, this is the right one. So we have very, very granular controls in there, so you can give an individual agent access to their own speech analytics or call recordings or screen recordings. You can also control it at a supervisor or group level. And there's some really neat tools in there for the agent to be able to just go back and look at their recent calls in what we call the customer experience module. So lots of different places where you can granularly control that and make sure that supervisors have the right access. Maybe you have some senior agents that need a certain level of access, and then down to maybe new agents have either no access or some access. So it's very granular, and you can control it at that level.
Excellent. I see that you have sentiment analysis, which a lot of people talk about. Not a lot of people use it actually, but that's good that you have that available.
Yeah, and it's really when you talk about that quality assurance process within a contact center, most of those everyone's used to hearing when you call in somewhere and they say your call may be recorded for quality assurance purposes. The challenge to that sort of process within a contact center is the volume of calls that you have to go through. And many of these quality assurance roles involve selecting at random a few calls, here or there. But with 8x8, the speech analytics artificial intelligence engine can listen to all the calls and categorize them based on keywords that roll up into topics, that roll up into categories. So then from a quality assurance perspective, you can go and drill down on the calls that are most important and then look at things like the keywords or the sentiment analysis to see if those are the calls that are important to listen to or not.
Right.
You can even run detailed reports on words that are missing from a call. So if you have a compliance situation where an agent is supposed to read off a compliance statement at the beginning or end of the call, you can actually go and find the calls where those statements are missing, and then provide feedback to the agent or give the customer a call back or what have you, so you can address the situation almost immediately after the call is over. So really strong set of tools there from a speech analytics and quality management perspective. In addition to the ability to real-time monitor the agent's screen and voice calls from the same interface, no matter where the agent happens to be. So really exciting about that too, because a supervisor that used to be able to kind of walk the floor and look over the shoulder of an agent or leverage a screen wallboard screen in the contact center to see the status of different activities or the key performance indicators can now do all of those functions from a web screen, working from home or working from anywhere.
Okay.
All right. Another major part of our platform is the ability to integrate into those other systems. And we have several out-of-the-box integrations with things like NetSuite, Salesforce, Zendesk, Microsoft Dynamics, and a host of others. But we also have an API solution that allows you to build connectivity into other systems, depending on the openness of those other systems. So we've had customers that have homegrown CRM systems, or they have an off-the-shelf system that we hadn't integrated with before, but we can arrange between our professional services and the customer's administrators all the connectivity that needs to make those two things work together around APIs, whether that be handling events back and forth, leveraging screen pops, providing information from the post-call information that goes back from the 8x8 side into that CRM system. So then you have the full 360-degree reporting on your different customer interactions and all the data points that are necessary to make business decisions going forward. So that's a really strong part of the platform, again, across the phone system, contact center, meetings and messaging, to plug into those different other solutions that really drive the business behavior.
Okay.
And we covered that already. And yeah, so any other questions? And then I can spend a few minutes showing you some of the live.
I would rather than go to a demo, because we've only got a few minutes left. I have to hard stop a few minutes before 10.
Okay.
What I'd rather do is, you've explained a lot of very valuable tools and help differentiate yourself from, what I call the cloud-based provider working out of their garage.
Yeah.
You guys obviously have a good understanding of what customers are looking for. You've built a platform to try and accommodate that. I mean, nothing's perfect, but the goal is to try and make it as functional as possible. However, a lot of, again, with flexibility comes the requirement to manage it.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't care whether you're a small customer, whether they're a large customer, no one wants to manage things anymore. The IT department, voice is the last thing. They would rather go to the dentist than manage their voice environment. And small companies, they give it to the office manager, who immediately does, nothing with it, and so you've got nothing. Now, obviously, we've got vertical involved. So I'd really rather like to hear a little bit about how vertical fills in that gap between the great capabilities that the manufacturer has put in and the customer who basically says, I don't want to pay for much, but I also don't want to do any of this. So someone on the vertical side, can you give me a little bit of input on how do you bridge that gap?
So I'll jump in a little bit. And as far as bridging the gap, that's the really nice thing about our service team. They're just incredible. The engineers, the technical folks, and that's where the customer service comes in. Kind of the approach that I have heard that I believe in, and I'm drinking the Kool-Aid, is that warm cocoa feeling, and it's end to end. It's that feeling that they want to give the customer, and to be able to support from a technical aspect. So the neat thing about vertical, and we're the first partner of 8x8 to be able to sell it, service it, support it, and of course they bill it too, to be able to provide all the details. And it's a great team to work with. So from a product perspective, and I'm really impressed with Jamal. He's just a rock star. I'd be able to provide all the technical details. And then from a vertical perspective, I'm not on the technical team, but they provide the support required for the customer. So the customer doesn't have to touch it if they don't want to. And you got several different types of support that you can sign up for. Does that help?
So basically, vertical, and you and Kevin and I have had this discussion before, that you recognize that that's what's been missing, and you basically build a layer of support that fills the gap. I mean, obviously, you know, there are some people that are still comfortable with a physical presence. You know, someone comes by and they sit down and we figure out how to do this. Do you actually provide on-site implementation people and things of that nature?
Yes, absolutely. In fact, we just finished a city in California that they are extremely happy. And I know that the consultant was concerned because they hadn't done an 8x8 before, and they're just over the moon. And I can tell you about that if you'd like as well. But it's been a great opportunity. We've got a couple other projects that we've won with 8x8 and consultants, and I can give you their names, Ken, to be able to provide reference points. But yeah, it's been just a really great relationship. And when you see the V8 logo, it really is a really strong machine, and it works great. And actually, we have a meeting every Monday with the teams, and I think it raises the bar, you know, for the V8 team, the vertical and 8x8 working together, and it raises the bar in the industry for everybody else. So it's been a lot of fun.
Excellent. Well, that's very good to hear, because I said that's always a concern. You know, too many cloud, you know, providers sort of think that, you know, we'll take care of things, you know, in the data center, and it's really up to the customer to deal with their things on their end. And we all know that everything's interconnected. You know, yep. There's no longer a single point in this world.
Right.
What about connectivity? You know, whether it's a you know, a couple locations or whether it's a distributed workforce, how do you connect into the 8x8 infrastructure? Is it internet-based? Do you do, you know, MPLS or some type of private network? I mean, how do you find that works to be not only, you know, high quality, but also cost effective?
Yeah, the real benefit is that, you know, internet connections have gotten better. The bandwidth is higher. They're more reliable. And we do have the majority of our customers, even in that mid-market enterprise space, leveraging direct internet access. Very few of our customers are leveraging MPLS for their connectivity to 8x8. But we do have some environments where they're dual connectivity, and we see more and more customers leveraging different types of SD-WAN solutions as their choice for connecting their cloud applications. So we work directly with partners like VeloCloud, Ariaka, and some others on SD-WAN solutions. We have some integrations there and some ways for them to identify our traffic and manage that traffic in terms of classification and prioritization. So SD-WAN is becoming more and more the types of connectivity that our end users are using. But really, the way we've designed the network, designed the applications, is to mitigate a lot of those issues that you have over internet connections. And again, we see very, very little MPLS.
Okay, I'm not surprised MPLS. I mean, it has its place for sure, but it doesn't really fit into this environment cost effectively anyway. Those are mainly the things that I had to cover. You know, the questions that I had. I mean, obviously, there's you know, as one digs deeper, they'll be generating many, many more questions. Is there anything else that I should know about at this stage?
No, I think we covered lots there. I really appreciate your attention, and the questions were really good. I always like to have that interactive conversation. You know, just thank you for being here today, and we're glad to speak to you again if you have any more questions.
Oh, I'm sure there will be plenty of opportunities.
Oh, that sounds great. And Jamal, thanks so much. You're just a wealth of information. Appreciate that. And Ken, just a great opportunity for you today. And happy to provide any other details that you want to see, especially since your time is freed up just a little bit. But thanks so much for being here. And, you know, we look forward to working on a project with you. I think that would be the best way to do this.
All right. Well, yeah, as I said, I've got a couple that are pending that may be opportunities. So if that actually comes to fruition, we will have a lot more to talk about.
Excellent. Well, I look forward to hearing from you, and I'll talk to you soon. Stay safe, everybody.
All right, guys. Have a good day, and we'll talk soon.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
All right. Bye.